Hey yo, what's good? It's been a while, but we back. I'm Ian,
I'm Murna.
and this is I Am Dumb, where we are dumb and we try and get a little smarter. I've been thinking a lot about teeth, right? I just finished going to the dentist and all that shit, and darn it. I just finished going to the dentist and all that, and it's such a pain, and it's got me thinking, there's no way that, like, people way back in the day, they didn't have dentistry and stuff. They weren't brushing their teeth every day. There's no way. And so
They use the little sticks.
So I was curious, right? Because I knew about like chew sticks and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk about that today. But I was curious. And so I took a deep delve into the history of teeth and
I don't like that.
toothbrushing.
I don't
Yeah.
like that. I don't
Yeah.
like thinking about teeth. I
Oh,
don't
we're
like
going to
thinking
get
about
into
teeth. I
some
don't like thinking
weird
about
stuff today,
fingernails.
man.
No.
We're gonna get into some
No.
weird stuff today. I am gonna go ahead and shout out. I used a lot of information from history.com and some other various sources, and I also watched Bailey Sarian's The Dark History of Teeth. His hair will not work with me. The Dark History of Teeth, right? And
We do a
that
link down below in the doobly doo.
yeah, we can put a link down below in the doobly doo. And that was really good. Highly recommend. Definitely goes into like some darker stuff than I went to do. Obviously, it's dark history. I tried to keep it a little more factual, but it was interesting. If you're interested, I would recommend giving it a watch. So teeth, right? People have had teeth pretty much as long as we've been around. Actually goes all the way back to starting with fish. Fish were the first thing to get teeth, and then we developed from there, right?
Fish were the first people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fish people.
Well, historians believe that dentistry dates all the way back to 7000 BC, which is so long ago I can't wrap my mind around it.
How many years is that?
What are we? 25 AD?
2000?
So
Is
that's
that 9,000
ago?
years? No shit.
Yeah, that's a long time ago, and that's not even as far back as history goes, which is crazy to me.
I mean, I'm assuming like if you're a caveman and you got bad teeth, that could just be the end of it, right?
Yeah, kinda. So like teeth really dictate a lot of your general health, which I didn't realize. They've been linked to things like Alzheimer's and other mental issues like what's the other one? Dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Has been linked to like gum disease, which I guess stuff in your gums and mouth can travel to your brain very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a similar bloodstream that they share. So
Well, I heard cardiovascular health too.
really, I didn't find anything on that.
I've heard that before. Where like if you have bad teeth, cause since there's so many like blood vessels in your gums, when you get bacteria and stuff in there, it didn't like seep in. That's why dip works. So you put like the dip pouches in,
Interesting.
and that's how it kind of because it just goes everywhere.
That's interesting. No, I didn't hear anything about that, but I did hear about like specifically like Alzheimer's has had several studies that connect bad dental history to Alzheimer's.
Bad brain history.
Bad brain history, yeah. Bad recollection of history, really, in the long term. So even though dentistry kind of dates back to 7000 BC, it took a really long time to be like common. And what I mean by that is like dentists being there. Like dentists were not a thing for a really long time. It was normally lumped into somebody else's job.
Is that kind of how like barbers used to be surgeons?
Yeah, so barbers
Back in
were
the day?
actually also dentists.
So if you can cut hair, you can clean teeth.
Yes.
Go off.
Particularly pull teeth was the big one. They did a lot of like dental surgical procedures. And there wasn't like the idea of like fillings and stuff like that didn't come around until there were more dedicated dentists. In the past, it was mostly like, well, this tooth is hurting. I have a cavity. I can like see a hole in my tooth. I'm just gonna pull it. Just pull it out.
I mean, if it's hurting, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Just get rid of it. They did have some home remedies and stuff. Like there was one that was like gypsum and something else like mixed together that you would put on there. Some people were on like opioids for like their pain.
7,000 BC.
Not in 7000 BC. This is
Taking
just like
fentanyl. They taking fent back in the
I'm jumping
caveman
through
days.
history a little bit. But yes, barbers would double as surgeons and dentists. A lot of doctors would be dentists, and priests back in like the Middle Ages and stuff. Priests were dentists because there was a saint of toothaches. And so the closest you would get to a saint is a priest. So priests would pull teeth. Isn't that
shit.
crazy? Yeah.
The saint of good teeth. They say cleanliness is next to godliness, so I guess good oral hygiene
I
is too.
suppose, yeah. I mean, people didn't really care. I don't know. I shouldn't say people didn't care for oral hygiene. There was like an uptick in it, and then everybody just stopped caring about it for a while, and then it went right back up.
Is that during the Dark Ages?
Yeah, kinda.
The same thing with the clowns, where people stopped caring about clowns so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that tracks. That tracks. Now, I heard somewhere that they didn't need as much. Now, the stuff that I say is not fact checked or sourced, so don't go looking for anything that I've said about heart health or anything else. But I've heard that like because of their diet, they had better teeth back then.
So I actually do touch on that a little later, but I'll go into it now. Back then, there was significantly less sugar that was being used in food. It was specifically used more on the wealthy areas, right? So like the wealthy people actually had worse teeth than poor people did because they were eating more sugars. Back then, I believe it said, I didn't write this one down, that they would eat about 6 pounds on average of sugar a year. That sounds like a lot, right?
Wealthy people.
Yes, wealthy people. Okay. The average American eats about 50 to 60, I believe is what it was,
A year?
a year.
Yeah, I believe it though, because how many
Yeah.
grams of sugars in a Mountain Dew or something?
Yes. And that's a
I
big one.
believe
Or
that.
just like sugars that are added and stuff like that. This is again coming from Bailey Sarian stuff. She talks about how ketchup is one that you wouldn't expect to have like a ton of sugar in it. But if you look on the back of like your ketchup bottle, there's a lot of sugar in ketchup.
I don't get down with ketchup. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm not a big ketchup lover either. I'm
No.
not a tomato lover, if I'm honest with you.
The Italian Ian not, and that's
I
crazy.
I know. But yes, people had healthier teeth in the Middle Ages than today. Skeletons show that only about 20% of people had tooth decay. So that's definitely like more of those wealthy people, people who have more sugar in their diet, or maybe people who just, there are genetics involved to how poor or well your teeth health will be and how they will come in and stuff like that. So, like, obviously 20%, 90% of people have some sort of tooth decay nowadays.
Well, it's big. It's big dentist is the thing. They're putting sugar in the toothpaste. They're putting sugar in the ketchup, and that's how they're staying in business. If only 20% of people had bad teeth, there wouldn't be so many dentists running around.
That is true. But again, large part of it is now, given that more people nowadays are keeping a full set of teeth throughout their entire lifetime than even in people 2 generations before us. I know my great grandmother had dentures and like full out had no teeth in her mouth that were her own. And that was pretty common back then. And now people do have like a lot more longevity with their teeth.
Would you ever get dentures?
No, they seem like hell. I mean, obviously, if I had to like get rid of all my teeth for some reason or other.
Well, they used to do it. What's the word? Voluntarily.
Yeah, again, skipping ahead of my notes. I was going to start from
My bad.
a
My
little way
bad.
back, but hold on. But people had all kinds of stuff that they would do in their teeth. Specifically, wealthy people. Again, rich people, just being rich. But specifically, wealthy people had a lot more stuff. People would get grills as early as the 7th century BC.
Ooh, Paul Wall looking
Uh-huh.
ass. Okay.
The ancient Mayans drilled holes into their teeth and filled them with jade when they were more wealthy because they viewed that as like a really high end, like crystal kind of thing.
I mean, that's dripped up.
Mm-hmm. That one seems more like it because the grills, you had to lose your teeth. Like they pulled them out.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then you would put the grill on like in place of it almost. But like just drilling a hole in your teeth. I'm sure it's not pleasant, especially back then. But seems more palatable because at least you still have your teeth.
I'm wondering what kind of tool they would use because I'm envisioning like a guy with a stick doing like this thing with the stick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm not like I know the Mayans and the Aztecs were very technologically advanced.
I was thinking if they have the jade and stuff like that, I'm assuming they have some sort of like metal that is sharp enough and you put it on the end of something and you're just like slowly chipping into it, right?
They cut jade with water and string.
Oh well, I have no idea.
Yeah, they don't use metal to. They take it's like they wet it. They put sand down in there. They wet it and they use a really coarse string and they just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
We are getting so far off topic.
Let's run it. We're here for the fun time.
That's true. We are here for the fun times. I'm gonna go back. I want to go back to the beginning of my notes. We're starting over. Cut all that. Cut all of it. The red and white barber poles. Speaking of like how barbers were mostly surgeons. This is a little fun fact. Were because barbers would hang bloody rags out after surgical procedures, and so a lot of that was like they would be stopping up the bleeding of a tooth or something like that, and then they would hang them up outside to dry out. I suppose. I don't know. I thought that part was weird because why are you hanging a bloody rag outside?
Red and white for blood and teeth.
It was, I suppose, yeah.
I hate that.
Okay, way back in the day, for a long time, the most common understanding of tooth decay, this is where it starts to get weird, was caused by that like the tooth itself was hurting by something called a toothworm.
Yeah,
So
the tooth worm.
the toothworm would this is they think that this was a thing because you know how worms can like burrow through wood and stuff
Hmm.
like that, or
When
like
they eat apples.
silkworms and stuff. Yeah, it was like the same concept but for your teeth. So they thought that like they would drill a small hole into your tooth, which is where like you would see a cavity, right? It's like a small hole, and then they would just live on the inside of your tooth, and that's why it was hurting. So you'd be like,
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it
toothworm's
goes.
moving again, you know?
If you eat a worm or you eat an apple that has the worm in it, then you'll get the tooth worm. Dig
That's
in. That's
factual.
why you
That's like
shouldn't
if
eat
you
apples.
eat watermelon seeds, a watermelon goes in your stomach, you know?
You got to eat a wet paper towel too, and then you'll get a whole watermelon. That's how they make watermelons.
Oh, yeah? From people?
Yeah, from people.
Yeah.
Watermelon people.
People wrote like full on papers about the toothworm. This was like a common knowledge thing. This is what everybody thought was the cause for tooth pain, right? So Greek, Japanese, Egyptians, Indians, Chinese writers from all through time wrote full on papers on the worm theory and what it looked like. There are some scary looking pictures out there, man.
Like the dune worms, like sandworms crawling into your
Yeah,
teeth.
I found all this on history.com before I watched the Bailey Sarian video, and I was looking at pictures and I was like, this is terrifying. And then she also talked about how terrifying it was. And I was like, yeah, that is a scary concept to me. The idea of a worm living in my tooth, having burrowed into my tooth, that is terrifying.
I just don't want bugs in me.
I don't like it.
On me.
Nothing in my being enjoys that. That seems so wrong.
But these pictures, I'm assuming hand drawn like they're just inventing the idea of what a tooth worm looks like.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they just made it as horrifying as possible.
It's just so weird to me.
It's the sales pitch, though. It's the sales pitch. Because if now, like, we've written a paper on these scary worms that live in your teeth, make them look as terrifying as possible and be like, these are living in your mouth. Go to the dentist. Come to me, your dentist, to come get these out of your face. Like, you do people lined up at the door trying to get in. You know? True.
And dentistry has always been kind of expensive and long and painful.
It's kind of, I think it's kind of hokey. Back in the day, I mean, definitely with like teeth worm, it's hokey.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, 9 in 10 dentists agree that this toothpaste is good for you. Was the 1 in 10? What's wrong with that guy? You know, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. That's why I don't go to the dentist. Be
the antagonist that day.
I'm not going to the dentist. If they can't agree what's going on, I'm not going. They can't get me. I wash my mouth out with Dr. Pepper every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need Dr. Dentist. I got Dr. Pepper.
I hope we get a Dr. Pepper sponsorship one day.
We're doing a gamer. Well, I guess it's good for our ad break. Use code I am dumb for. I'm just playing.
Don't do that. So going back to what you said, people would use chew sticks. These actually came from something that is nicknamed the toothbrush plant. So there's a toothbrush plant, and you would chew on the end of these sticks, and it would. The best way I saw it like compared was like the dog chew sticks for like their teeth health. Kind of similar, but these like branches of this tree would fray at the end after you would chew on them for a while, and it was already good for your mouth. And after you would chew on them for a while, it would just like kind of brush naturally your teeth.
Do you remember when I bought them at the old house?
No, I don't think I do.
I had a 12-pack of them. I got off of Amazon, and they're these little sticks like that big around and like that long, and you take a knife and you cut like that much off the end of it, and then just like you said, you chew on it. And it will cause the end to fray out because the strands, it's not like regular wood where it goes around in a circle. The strands go down the entire length of the stick. So you chew it and then it frays up and it's like rough, but when it's wet, it's not too rough. Something about the wood has like an antimicrobial.
Yeah, the wood itself is just good for your mouth. And
you just take and just little circles on each tooth. And you go a little circle and you chew, and a little circle, and you chew. And it gets like the ends of your teeth, the fronts and the backs of your teeth. It actually worked pretty good, but it was like, I got toothbrush and toothpaste. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
We do like a 12-pack for like $15 on Amazon.
Interesting. I might try that one day.
They show up in these little individually wrapped Ziploc bags, and a couple of them were wet on the inside. I didn't trust that, so I didn't use all of them. And then I was reading that some of them, modern day ones, some of them come like mint flavored, and that mint flavoring is sugar. So they have like soaked it in a substance that has sugar in it. Oh. So when you brush, you're just putting more sugar in it. So those aren't good for you.
Well, I wouldn't want the mint anyways. I feel like it shouldn't have a flavor. It's a chew stick.
No, I agree. Yep. You're chewing on a stick. It doesn't need to be a mint flavor stick.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm gonna go into brushes now.
Toothbrushy.
Yes, toothbrushy.
Toothbrushy.
This was like the chew sticks were really common, and the first mass-produced toothbrush was supposedly, this isn't set, created by a prisoner. He was in prison for rioting charges in 1780.
I mean, that makes sense though, because if you, I mean, you need something to turn to a shank, right?
Yeah,
so
I
you got to
suppose.
invent the toothbrush. You can turn that into
I
a shank
suppose.
to use later.
In 1957, Washington dentist got the first U.S. patent for a toothbrush. This is H.N. Wadsworth. I liked his name, Wadsworth. I thought that was good.
I used to work with a Wadsworth. We called him Waddy.
Waddy. That
Waddy.
makes it sound like Wadsworth sounds so put together to me.
Very
Waddy
formal.
sounds like the dude on the street. 100%. Waddy, got the first patent for a toothbrush, and he claimed that this toothbrush did a better job of scrubbing between your teeth than like the original toothbrush did, or even like the chew sticks, right? That kind of goes on for a while where people are saying like this toothbrush can get in between your teeth better, this toothbrush, and it starts to become like the toothbrush market, right? Where people are selling their teeth. I really struggle with saying the plural of toothbrush.
Toothbrushy.
Toothbrushy all over the place at this point, especially America. I got a lot of this. A lot of this is American history. Was most of what I found.
Did we invent the toothbrush?
The internet would have me believe it.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
In 37, another American inventor, Tomlinson I. Mosley, patented the design for the electric toothbrush.
1937?
1937.
I don't know if I trust an electric toothbrush. Because what, you got to hook that thing up like a lightning rod?
You probably have to have it plugged in at that point.
And I mean, they had just raw like electricity running, no DC, AC.
Yeah, like I'd be scared to get that wet.
Hey, you gonna.
Right? Like
Nah,
that was
fuck
my
that.
thought. Like this had to have not been the safest.
No.
But he doesn't end up really getting the electric toothbrush industry going. Nylon bristles were invented shortly after that. And then another guy, Philip Guy Woog, who was a Swiss scientist, so it's not all invented by Americans in my research, introduced his own model in 1954.
What were the original toothbrushes made? If they weren't I didn't assume they had nylon. Like, what were they using? Straw or something?
Yeah, they were using like different types of like anything that was firm enough, essentially, to hold up with a little bit of give. I don't know if I wrote it down. I saw what it was. I don't think I actually wrote it down. That is my bad.
Probably a little piece of rope or something like that. A pumice stone. Could you imagine taking a pumice stone?
No, I cannot imagine that. Please don't say that.
I knew a guy when I was in high school. He ground his teeth down into points, and like that sucks. But like also like you're taking all the enamel off. I can't imagine having a file in my face. You know?
Yeah, I don't like that.
He listened to ICP too. He was a juggalo, so that might do something.
Yeah,
it makes the Faygo taste better.
I didn't write down what they were originally made from.
Probably like an old piece of rope or something.
Yeah, I know that when it came to flossing, which I'll get into that a little later, they were just using thread at first, and then it switched to like the nylon so that the thread didn't constantly fray and stuff. It was originally the electric toothbrush was originally intended to assist people with like limited mobility, but pretty soon it got promoted to the general public as like a better way to brush your teeth. A 60s magazine ad, and I wrote this because I thought this is wild. You can't do this now. A 60s magazine ad actually called it the perfect gift for Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation, and weddings. Can you imagine gifting someone a toothbrush, like an electric toothbrush like that?
Hey, bitch, you'll have stank.
Yeah,
happy wedding.
Right?
That's
like,
crazy.
That's terrible.
Have a wonderful first kiss on your wedding night. Use a electric toothbrush.
I just feel like that would be, especially like graduation. There's nothing I would want less.
I mean, as I get older, I appreciate socks and underwear for a gift for something. I wouldn't mind it nowadays.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because I don't think like when someone gives you new socks, they're not saying like, hey, your socks are gross. Here's some more socks. They're just giving you something useful, you know? So if you give me a good toothbrush.
I suppose, man. I feel like I would never want to give someone a toothbrush.
I mean, it depends on you got to know the person. Like I wouldn't give a
think I'd even gift you a toothbrush, dog.
Well, now you know.
Even knowing that you would be okay with it, I don't think I would get it for you.
Next Christmas, you can get me some toothbrushes. and I'll be
So like a
fine with it.
3-pack, like the basic
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll take
toothbrushes.
for $5.
Okay, so oddly enough, toothpaste predates the toothbrush by a lot. By a lot. From 3000 to 5000 BC, ancient Egyptians first developed a dental cream, which contained powdered ashes from hooves, myrrh, eggshells, and pumice.
Murder. What was after myrrh? I'm sorry.
Eggshells and pumice.
You said pumice?
Uh huh.
Like the stone you use to clean your feet?
Uh huh.
Like we were just talking about making
Uh
a
huh.
toothbrush out of pumice
Uh huh.
stone, and they were
Yeah.
actually doing it.
Yeah.
Now, okay, if this is before the toothbrush, what they're just taking it, putting it on their finger, and giving it the old truck stop.
Yeah, it was a cream that you would put on your teeth.
Okay, I can see using pumice on your teeth.
Yeah,
Then
most of them had something that was like a little abrasive to like scrape kind of whatever's on there off. The
good for the enamel.
Yeah, the Persians added burnt shells of snails and oysters, along with gypsum, herbs, and honey. Makes taste a little better. In 1000 BC, and like that was pretty common. Like making your own toothpaste was super common until 1880. That was just something that people did. To the point, there was a book that was like the book of being a perfect housewife or something like that. I didn't write the exact name down. That was talking about the best toothpaste recipes for you to make for your household.
How to be the best trad wife.
Yeah, pretty much.
Make toothpaste, cook dinner.
Uh-huh.
That's wild.
Start a
So they're like
sourdough.
back at that, keeping the sourdough starter alive.
Uh-huh.
I just like nowadays, I don't know if I'd trust myself to use anything in my home because, like, where do you even get? Like, I can see like with the Persians, they were using snail shells and oyster shells.
Yeah.
It's like you're just getting that, you know. But
Yeah.
like in my house,
just around.
what dirt? Like I'd go get some dirt and just rub it on my.
I'm pretty sure I've seen people make some on like TikTok and stuff like that, and it's like baking soda and something or other. Like it's not something I would ever think to do. I'll just buy Colgate. It's fine. But
I've heard of baking soda for your. I've actually heard of gypsum and alum. Putting alum on your teeth.
Interesting.
And like if you like bite the inside of your mouth, like you like chew and you bite the inside of your mouth, you take alum and you wet it and you stick it in there, and it's supposed to have. I don't know what alum is.
I have no idea.
But I've heard the same thing with gypsum too. It putting it on like your mouth sores and stuff. You like bite your cheek.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that is just like naturally good for your mouth.
Like pumice.
Yeah.
A little bit of rock is great for your mouth.
Chew little bit of rock never hurt no one.
Yeah,
you know?
no, you'd be all right. You'd be all right.
Rock. The big thing that made toothpaste stop being like build your own was this Connecticut dentist who's credited with the idea of packing toothpaste into the squeezable bottles. Before that, if it was sold, it was sold. People just mostly made it themselves. But when it was sold in bottles, pots, or like paper boxes because it is more of like a gel than like what we have now too. You know what I mean? But the squeezable tube made it possible for it to be mass produced. And so that's where it became super common to see toothpaste everywhere. And it could be mass marketed, sold nationwide, the whole American dream, you know? In 1955, Press launched the first toothpaste to contain fluoride. So at this point, they realized fluoride is good for your teeth.
It's also good for liberal mind control.
And that is something that... So they realize this and they go, okay, what is a way that we can get everybody to ingest this thing? And I think it was a city in Michigan. They pretty much tested it by putting it in the water and they saw that people's teeth started to get better. In particular, it helps fight cavities in children, but it is also good just for your teeth in general.
Did they tell people they were putting fluoride in the water?
I don't think they did.
I mean, for shady science worked out for the best.
Yeah, it did. It showed them that like it is good for you. It's good for your teeth. I heard a thing that in Denver, there's like a high amount of fluoride just naturally in the water, and people from Denver, like who have lived in Denver their whole life, Colorado, I guess, the area, they tend to have better teeth.
Well, that's because bacteria can't live at this altitude. That's the real reason. Factual. Don't let the government get to you. It's not the fluoride, it's the altitude.
Now all toothpaste that have the ADA, American Dental Association, seal of acceptance have to contain fluoride. And a lot of places add it to the drinking water. So that is just a more common thing. Part of the reason that we are keeping our teeth longer is because they've learned stuff like this and started putting it in the water. And it's in you from childhood. Go into the toothpick, and then we'll talk about floss, which are apparently two of the most important things you can do for your teeth.
Toothpicking and flossing.
Yeah, just like picking the stuff out from in between your teeth. Anything that gets caught in between your teeth is way more detrimental for your teeth than anything that's actually on the front end.
Mhm.
And dentists actually recommend that if you are going to pick one, floss. And like it is something that like is super important. One of the last things to be figured out about like dentistry.
I feel like flossing would come before.
One would think toothpicks have been around. They are the oldest of all of these. So anything wood, bone, ivory, quills, plucked from like crow, geese, anything that they could fit in there to pick something out has been used throughout time.
I can see you get like a little bit of woolly mammoth stuck in the back.
Uh-huh.
You know, you gotta do something to get it out.
You pluck one of the big furry pieces off the woolly mammoth. It's just firm enough, you know. You can get
One of
in
the
there.
woolies. You get one of the woolies off the woolly mammoth,
Yeah.
and you can get it right. I would think you could floss
with the woolly from a woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but that it's pretty much anything. Like, you know, when the cowboys would like chew on the long piece of grass and stuff too.
Yep.
They'd even use that to like pick at their teeth and stuff like that. Like anything that they could get in there. In the Victorian era, they started making them really fancy, as they're wont to do. Toothpicks made of gold or silver became popular among people who could afford them.
Well, you know how good it is for your teeth to rub metal things all
right
on and in
them.
between. And that's,
Yeah.
I'm starting to see, because I've heard before that the aristocracy, the big fancies from back then, were really, really stinky. And I'm starting to see, because we talked about soap.
We did.
And I'm seeing they don't like to use soap.
You're right.
They're also giving themselves crazy tooth decay and rubbing all their enamel off. So their breath probably smelled really bad. Could you imagine, like, you're just a poor beggar on the side? Please, sir, I want some more. And this big fancy to-do guy comes up and says, you won't be getting no more. And their armpits stank and their breath stank. And you're like, oh, I don't want any. No, sir, please leave me alone. You know? I can't imagine how bad the people smell.
They started the propaganda of the beggars smelling because they didn't want to. It came full circle, and so they started the whole thing of like, no, they're smelly.
We just cracked the code on Big Stink. We got it all figured out.
We don't need deodorant.
No, they don't need deodorant. They don't need soap. They don't need good teeth. What's next? Well, I know they were wearing those tight corsets and they can't poop or nothing.
Yeah. No, they weren't there. I mean, it was a whole ordeal for like women to get in those dresses and stuff like that too. Like, you're not getting out of that easy to go take a dump and then come back.
You just poop right in it.
I mean, yeah.
Big Stink. Big
If it
Stink.
gets bad enough, right?
We cracked the code, dog.
You got
we
enough
cracked
layers,
the code.
though. Like, I mean, you have to leave now, but like, you got enough layers. You can hide it. No one's gonna know.
Well, your maid's gonna find out when you get back.
Well, yeah.
But that's undress me, and then there's
you
big
pay
poop
them
stains.
good. You don't pay them at all. They're there.
They're not getting paid. They're not getting paid. They got given away.
Well, fun fact about the whole metal toothpicks. Charles Dickens' ivory and gold toothpick, which was engraved with his initials, sold in 2009 for $9,150.
That's pretty cheap, I feel like.
I thought so too, right? For Charles Dickens' toothpick, ivory and gold.
Yeah. I feel like I mean that's like a $30,000-$40,000 thing. Is what it sounds like to me. Maybe it was an estate sale.
I don't know, but I also thought that was cheap.
Yeah,
I know inflation has played a big part in things, but like $9,000 even in 2009, I feel like is pretty cheap.
Yeah, 100%. I mean it's got to be. I don't know. 2009. I bought a car in 2009 for $9,000. No, I feel like Charles Dickens' toothpick would be worth more than.
Yeah, I mean it's Charles Dickens.
Yeah. No, that's bonkers. How cheap that is.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? I was also thinking when I was doing this part, something that most toothpicks, any toothpick I've ever used in my lifetime, that I love about a toothpick is you use it, you throw it away. Why would you? Do you have to wash your toothpick?
Just wipe it on their.
It's gold. It's gonna tarnish. Yeah.
Their embroidered handkerchief.
I know for sure that they were just like, and then like using it again. Like that. It seems like it would be so grody.
Everything back then was grody.
It's terrible. They really went backwards.
I never want to go back in time.
No, there's not a point in time I would ever want to go back to. In the 1860s, they went back to wooden toothpicks when Charles Forrester found a way to mass produce them. And soon they were making 500 million of them things a year. And free toothpicks became the restaurant giveaway. You know, like when you're walking away from a restaurant, you pull a little toothpick, chew on that bad boy. That became pretty common in the 1800s, actually. And then continued on till today. And dental floss became a thing in the 1800s. So the 19th century is when we finally got dental floss. A dentist had recommended running a thread between your teeth to dislodge stuff that brushes couldn't remove. By the end of the century, they had commercially manufactured it. So in the
a singular dentist.
Yes.
So that 1 out of 10 who doesn't think you should be fucking with toothpaste, that's the one who invented the dental
floss. That's the one
floss.
who figured out floss. That's the guy who said you should floss. If you're gonna pick one, floss.
Floss, and I don't recommend toothpaste actually. And no, I do not. I'm not a descendant of the guy who invented floss.
But yeah, after that, it just became like really popular. Again, there was that whole thing of like if you're gonna pick one, floss. In the 1950s, nylon floss became created, partly because of the scarcity of silk in World War II.
They were using silk.
That's
bougie,
right?
That's
but
fancy
also because
as hell.
it was shredding less.
I mean, I guess, but like, here I am in the trenches of World War II with my fancy silk floss.
Mean, it was probably just like you had a roll of thread, and you could probably just get silk thread,
Well, it comes out of a bug butt, though. I don't know if I want to use
bug butt.
something that comes out of a bug butt to do my teeth. Yeah. No, let's use nylon.
Okay, this surprised me. Okay, floss, when it was created, it became the nylon floss, pretty much hasn't changed since then. So from the feast till now, pretty much the same floss, right? In the 50s, water flossers became a thing. I thought that was way more recent.
I did too, because I've only heard about, I started seeing them. I own one. I have a water pick, and so
the water pick specifically became a thing in 1962.
No shit.
Yes.
I just started seeing them like 2-3 years ago on TikTok.
I think my parents had one when I was younger, maybe like 10 years ago or so. Maybe a little more. I'm old now. 15 years ago or so. My dad had one. So like I knew about them. I would never have said they were made prior to maybe the 80s.
You ever used one?
No.
I highly recommend.
I've thought about getting one, honestly.
They're really nice.
This kind of convinced me. It was kind of crazy. Like, they really changed the game, and from 62 till now, what a business. That's crazy.
I used to have really sensitive teeth until I started using one, and I'll put a little bit of Listerine in there, and I'll do it in the shower. So I'm just like mouth open, just going for it. Let everything just fall out in the shower, and then when I need to top it off, because it got a pretty small tank, I just fill that bitch up in the shower. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, yeah.
A little bit of Listerine, water, and just go for it, And they work really good. I can't recommend them enough.
Maybe I'll end up pulling the trigger after doing this whole thing. But yeah, it was made from 2 Coloradans. One was a dentist, the other one was a hydraulic engineer, and he figured out how to make the water like go down and shoot up.
Now I'm assuming in the 60s. Once again, we're back to the electric toothbrush, where it's got to be a big system to like are they taking like their water hose from outside?
The 60s though is a little more recent. Like it wasn't as bad. I think you could still throw a toaster in the bathtub and like kill someone. But like I think that I could see it being more closely similar to the water pick we have now.
I'm just envisioning like a big like you go in the bathroom, you put your backpack on, it's got the water tank in it, you're like hunched over the sink, it's like plugged into the wall.
Like you're
and you have like 2 hands. Yeah, you're a ghost. You're cleaning teeth. Makes me feel good.
Maybe in like the 1800s, dog. But like I think in the 60s, it probably had to have been pretty close. I didn't go look at a picture, actually. I should have. But I would assume it would look pretty closely related. Yeah, and the electric toothbrush came around. It was 1954. And so 62, the water pick becomes a thing. But even the 50s is when water flossers became a thing.
What's the difference between a water flosser and a water pick?
Water pick is the specific brand, I do believe.
Oh, I see.
Specific product. Yeah. Whereas like anything can be a water flosser. You can probably buy a cheap water flosser off of Amazon. People really like to do things with water, huh? We really saw the power of water, and we were like, we got to harness that in any way we know how.
We got it all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, don't talk about how you can power your car off of water, because you're gonna get
Yeah, that's a hard pass.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got some fun facts here as well.
I love fun facts.
More stuff. George Washington's famous wooden dentures were actually made from human teeth, ivory, bone, screws, and a metal wire.
He had other people's teeth put in his mouth?
So that was actually, Bailey Sarian goes into this, and I didn't write much down about it because I didn't want to really go into the scariness of people doing this. But people would steal teeth from dead soldiers and stuff and then sell them to dentists to make dentures and stuff like that.
It was a common thing to have.
It was a common thing. Like, you know how people would like steal bodies from the cemetery and then like go bring it to doctors and stuff?
Yeah.
They would like pretty much do the same thing, but with teeth.
I thought they were pulling out gold teeth, but now that you're saying it, I remember. Did you watch Les Mis?
Yes.
And they're
Oh,
selling
do.
their teeth.
Yeah.
They're selling their teeth in the movie. Yeah, yeah. So they were using those to
Yeah,
make
I
dentures.
didn't even think about that.
I thought they were making a comb or something, or a nice
teeth?
back scratcher. Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't have a human tooth comb?
No, I don't.
Oh, I can't recommend. It's for my long luxurious locks. I need to comb it a lot, so I use human teeth. No, I had no idea that they were. I mean, I thought they were pulling like the gold teeth to go sell for like the gold value, like in the movies and stuff when they're popping teeth out.
Uh-huh.
But they're just pulling everybody's teeth out and just selling to dentists.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy.
They would sell them to dentists for dentures or stuff like that. Or even like for school and stuff.
For school?
Yeah, because like, I mean, you don't want to be practicing your dentistry, like literally practicing your dentistry on a real person.
That's true. They do nowadays, though.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they do.
You know, you can go to like a local dentistry school and get free teeth cleaning and stuff.
I didn't know that.
If you like desperately need to get your teeth cleaned, I see it on like a lot of like, I'm on like vagabond subreddits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people like, if you're homeless and you really need your teeth cleaned, you can go to a dentistry school and they'll take you as a volunteer to clean teeth. And like, it's really not dangerous because they have like an actual dentist there overseeing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So like, and they, you know, they'll get drugged up. They'll do the whole 9 yards. And they practice on
interesting,
like real people. Because I used to think that they would like, they must have, like, I know they had to practice, but like a latex skull or something.
Yeah.
And do it like that.
That's kind of what they were doing back then. They would take bodies and like practice on bodies and stuff.
A dead body?
Yeah. I mean, they did a lot with dead bodies back then. Speaking of great American people who had that stuff or made that stuff, Paul Revere, you know, the guy who wrote in, "The British are coming." The British are coming. He was a dentist and he actually made dentures and tooth prosthetics.
So the guy who started the Revolutionary War.
I don't know if he's the guy who started
the guy who started the Revolutionary War, also one of these shady dentists.
Yes.
I'm starting to see something with these dentists. I don't trust them less and less every day.
And another little just side fact, original fillings, like the recipe for fillings included lead in the recipe.
That tracks.
Obviously didn't go well, caused lead poisoning. So when they realized what was happening, it got switched to, there's one guy pretty much figured out he could use mercury, quicksilver, mixed with nickel, right?
I'm surprised they didn't just grind up other people's teeth.
Oh,
and just put that in your tooth.
Right back into your tooth?
Yeah, if you need to fill the hole from the tooth worm with more tooth. So just reinsert the tooth in there. That's what I would do. That'd be my go-to. If I was a dentist.
I feel like that would go terribly wrong, but I don't know enough to tell you why.
I mean, they were using lead.
They
mercury.
They were using lead.
What's wrong with tooth?
They were using mercury.
Just put more tooth in the tooth.
The mercury wasn't super long-term. It was more short-term because pretty shortly after they had realized that these hat makers who were around mercury, I suppose, pretty often, were getting like a lot of issues with like their mental health, recalling things. They would get Mad Hatter syndrome, and it was mercury poisoning.
I've heard of that.
So when they figured that out, they were like, cut the quicksilver out. We're not doing that.
It's like something that they used to like shape the hats and stuff had mercury in it.
Yeah.
And they'd get it.
Yeah. I think it was to cure the hats after they were done, but yeah.
That tracks.
So yeah, that was what I learned on teeth. I think I butchered this one a little bit, but Bailey Sarian did a really, really great video on it, leaning more into like the dark history of it than I did. I went more for like the factual stuff, and a lot of my stuff, I couldn't find anything outside of America that was very super reputable.
Because they don't brush their teeth.
I don't think
Go outside of America, look at their teeth, and tell me what you think. America #1, baby. We got teeth figured out. Well, let me ask you this before we cut. Let me ask you this: do you floss?
I'm gonna be totally honest. Not as often as I should.
I don't either.
I use those floss picks, like like the little flossers. I use those. Definitely not as often as I should. But I use those to like floss my teeth out probably about like once a week or so.
Well, let's make a pact here, you and me now, so we don't have to go to those shady fucking dentists as much anymore. Let's make a pact. We're gonna start flossing.
Yeah, I'm down. I really was thinking about that water pick so I can start flossing.
You should pick one up. And
Yeah.
anybody, if you buy a water pick and you're in the comments and you post a picture of you with a water pick, we'll give you how much money we want to give them.
No money.
No money. Oh, never mind.
Penny?
You ever heard of oil pulling?
No.
That's you take. It's like a. Are we done with teeth now?
Yeah, we're done with teeth. I got nothing else.
Are we in the cold close?
We're in the cold close.
Okay. I think you did a fantastic job, Ian. I think you did a fantastic
thanks.
job. Are we supposed to keep calling each other Murna and Ian?
I don't think so. I think that's just for the beginning bit because we are dumb.
They have no idea. Yeah, it's like to like help with cavities and stuff. And I feel like it might be like snake oil, just nothing. But they say like if you like coconut oil or some kind of like neutral oil, and you like switch it around in your mouth for like 5 to 15 minutes, and it will kill the bacteria in your mouth, something like that.
In what world can you keep something like that in your mouth for 5 to 15
I've done it. I've done it. I have the oil pulling. If you go on Amazon and look up oil pulling, you get like a brown bottle with like a blue and white label on the outside. There's some kind of like crazy name on there. And like I've done it before. I switch it around and see if it does anything. And it's thick. So you're really working out like your whole embouchure, all your face muscles to swish this stuff around for like 15 minutes. Like it hurts. And they say to do it before you eat breakfast in the morning, because if you swallow it, it might make you throw up. Like you'll get upset stomach from doing this stuff. And I've tried it, never threw up, never had upset stomach. It's like mint flavored. The one that I have is like mint flavored, so it's not awful to switch it around. But I didn't see any benefit from it. Me personally, I didn't see any benefit from it.
I feel like you do a lot of taking care of your teeth for a man who said he didn't go to the dentist.
I don't go to the. That's why I don't have to go to the dentist. Never had a cavity. I've never had a cavity. I still have my wisdom teeth. No problems. Other than they're kind of yellow. No problems. Never.
I mean,
when I knock on.
My teeth are all kinds of messed up. I needed braces a long time ago, so.
Maybe you should try oil pulling. Do that.
No.
Switch vegetable oil out of your mouth for 15 minutes.
I'm never more nauseous when I'm putting something in my mouth than first thing in the morning before I've eaten breakfast or anything.
Well, then eat your breakfast, do your thing, and then just take some peanut oil and just throw it in there and switch it around for 15 minutes. It'll taste like peanuts.
Ew.
It's good. You can't beat it.
Tastes like nuts.
D-nut. We should end it right there. We should call it.
No, we gotta do the whole thanks for watching. I'm not gonna tell you to like, favorite, and subscribe and all that or whatever, ring the bell or whatever. I'm just gonna ask that. I'm just gonna ask that if you like this or you hated it or you were somewhere in between and you just didn't care. You tell somebody that you heard it at one point.
If you hated it, keep your motherfucking mouth shut. Don't tell nobody if you hated it.
Just tell a friend maybe. Or like complain about it to a friend and be like, you have to listen to this. This is the worst thing I've ever heard. You know? I think you should do that.
I say go cry about it. Post it on your socials, Instagram, Facebook, retweet us, clip farm. What would do that? And then clip farm that, right? That's good clip farm content. Oh, Murna, I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Ian. I am Murna. He is Ian. But I
am Ian. And this has been the I Am Dumb podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.